The young man hit my car, and then he told the police officer that I had hit him. It happened in 4 seconds. I was stopped at a 4-way intersection, fully stopped, when he came through his own stop sign without slowing and clipped the front of my car. Before I had even unbuckled my seatbelt, he was out of his vehicle, loud, already performing. He pointed at me through my windshield. He told the gathering crowd, and then the officer when he arrived, that I had pulled out in front of him, that I had run my stop sign, that I was confused, that I should not be driving at my age. The officer looked at me the way I was afraid he would. The way people look at a gray-haired woman in a sensible car after a young man has just told them she is the problem. I did not argue. I did not raise my voice. I have learned that arguing with a confident liar only makes you look like the unstable one, which is exactly what he wanted. I simply sat in my car with my hands folded and waited. Because there was a small camera mounted on my windshield, the one my grandson had installed 8 months earlier over my objections, and it had been recording the entire time. He just did not know it yet. My name is Eleanor Brooks, 63 years old, Connecticut, retired teacher, widow, and, for the record, a driver with a spotless license for over 40 years. Not one at-fault accident. Not one. I mention that not out of pride, but because it became completely irrelevant the moment a confident young man decided to point at me. His name was Mason Reed. Mid-20s, I would guess. The kind of young man who has never once doubted that the world will take his word for things. And here is the truth that every older driver listening to me already knows in their bones. The instant there is a collision, and one of the drivers has gray hair, a quiet assumption fills the air before anyone has said a word. She is old. She was probably confused. She probably did something wrong. Mason Reed understood that assumption perfectly. He weaponized it. He did not just claim I caused the accident. He performed the story everyone was already half ready to believe. He jabbed his finger toward my car. She came out of nowhere, officer, ran her stop sign. Honestly, these old folks should not be allowed to drive. It is a danger to everyone. And I watched Officer Coleman, a decent enough man, begin to write it down the way Mason told it. Because it fit. Because it was easy. Because a confident young man had handed him a tidy story that matched the assumption already sitting in the air. I want to tell you about the camera because it is the hero of this story, and because of who put it there. 8 months earlier, my grandson Daniel had come over with a small box and a roll of tape and announced he was installing a dash camera in my car. I told him I did not need a camera watching me drive. I told him I had driven for 40 years without one. Daniel just kept working. He said, "Gran, it is not watching you. It is watching everyone else. If anything ever happens, you will not have to argue about what happened. You will just have the truth." He sounded exactly like his grandfather when he said it. Richard, my late husband, the engineer, who used to say that memory is an argument, but a record is a fact. Daniel never met that side of Richard, not really. He was too young, but it lives in him anyway. So I let him install the little camera, and I forgot about it. For 8 months, until the afternoon a young man hit my car and told the world I had hit him. At the scene, Officer Coleman wrote his report. Based on Mason's account and the position of the vehicles, the preliminary fault was assigned to me. To me. A citation for failure to yield, and 2 days later, my insurance company called to tell me a claim had been opened against my policy and that the other driver was reporting an injury. If you have ever been judged the moment someone saw your gray hair, if you have ever watched a confident liar be believed over you, stay with me, because I had the entire 4 seconds on video and I was about to choose the exact right moment to show it. Subscribe and hit the bell. I post every day. Here's the part where most people would have panicked, and where I want to tell you why I did not. When my insurance company called, the adjuster was polite but cool. She told me the other driver, Mason Reed, had reported that I ran my stop sign and pulled into his right-of-way. She told me he was now claiming a neck injury. She told me that, based on the police report assigning me fault, my claim did not look strong. She used a phrase I will not forget. She said, "Mrs. Brooks, sometimes at our age these things happen, and it is better to just accept it and let the rates adjust. At our age, she was perhaps 40, I did not get angry on the phone. I have learned that the telephone is the worst possible place to fight because nothing you say there leaves a record you control. So I said only that I disagreed, that I would be submitting my own evidence, and that I would put everything in writing. Then I hung up and I called Patricia. Patricia Hale has been my attorney for 9 years, and the first thing she did was tell me to slow down. She said, "Eleanor, do you have the footage? Have you watched it?" I told her I had. I told her it showed everything. Mason rolling through his own stop sign without braking, his head down, a phone glowing in his hand, the moment of impact, and me sitting completely stopped where I had been for several seconds. There was a silence on the line, and then Patricia said something that taught me how these things really work. She said, "Eleanor, listen to me carefully. Do not show him the footage. Do not show the adjuster yet. Do not argue the facts on the phone. Let him commit." I asked her what she meant. She said, "Right now, Mason Reed has given a story to the police and a story to his insurance company, and he is filing an injury claim. Every one of those is a formal statement. If you reveal your video now, he can quietly adjust his story, say he was confused, blame the son, walk it back. But if you wait until he is fully committed, in writing, to a version of events that the video proves is false, then it is no longer your word against his. It is his own sworn account against a recording. And a false report to police and a fraudulent injury claim are very serious things." I understood. She was telling me to do the hardest thing of all, wait. So I waited. And waiting, when you are holding the truth in your hand and someone is lying about you to everyone, is its own particular kind of agony. Mason committed beautifully. Over the next 2 weeks, he gave a recorded statement to his insurance company describing in detail how the confused elderly woman ran her stop sign and pulled into his path. He submitted a claim for a neck injury with a chiropractor and a demand for a settlement. He repeated his story the same way to 2 different adjusters. He even, I later learned, told his own insurer that there were no cameras involved, that it was simply his word and the old woman's. He built himself a beautiful, detailed, fully committed house of lies, and he built it on the foundation of one belief, that the old woman had nothing but her word, and her word was worth less than his. Patricia and I prepared quietly the entire time. We pulled the footage with its timestamp. We documented the file so its date could not be questioned. We wrote a clear, factual letter, and we waited until Mason Reed had signed his name, figuratively and literally, to every last piece of his story. Then Patricia said, "Now. Send it now. To his insurer, to your insurer, and to Officer Coleman, all at once, in writing, with the video attached." So we did. If this moment is reaching something in you, if you have ever had to hold your tongue while someone lied about you, leave me a comment and tell me about it. Tell me if you have a dash camera, or if this story just convinced you to get one. I read every single one. The footage was 4 seconds long, and it ended the entire thing. It showed me stopped at the intersection, fully stopped for several seconds before anything happened. It showed Mason Reed's car approaching his own stop sign at speed, not slowing, his head tilted down, the unmistakable glow of a phone in his hand. It showed him roll straight through the sign and into the front of my stationary car. And the timestamp showed all of it had happened exactly as I said, at the moment I said. Every word Mason had given to the police and to 2 insurance companies was now, on the record, demonstrably false. He had not been wronged by a confused old woman. He had run a stop sign while looking at his phone, hit a stopped car, and then filed a fraudulent injury claim on top of a false police report. The phone call from my adjuster a few days later had a very different tone. She said, "Mrs. Brooks, I owe you an apology. We have reviewed the footage. Fault has been reassigned entirely to the other driver. Your claim is approved, your record is clean, and there will be no change to your rates." I said, "Thank you." "And the injury claim he filed." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That claim has been denied and flagged. Filing a fraudulent injury claim is not a small matter. I would not want to be him right now. Officer Coleman called as well. To his credit, he did not make excuses. He said the citation against me was being voided and that a false report to a police officer was its own offense and that Mr. Reed would be hearing from them. And then he said the thing I think a lot of people needed to hear. He said, "Mrs. Brooks, I am sorry. I wrote it the way he told it. I should not have. I let the easy story write itself." I told him I appreciated his honesty. And then I told him the only thing I really wanted him to take from it. I said, "The easy story is the dangerous one, officer. He counted on you writing the easy story because the easy story is that the old woman was confused. The only thing that beats the easy story is a record. My husband used to say that memory is an argument, but a record is a fact. I just happened to be carrying a fact on my windshield." I called Daniel that night, my grandson who had stood in my driveway 8 months earlier and installed a little camera over my objections. I said, "Daniel, that camera you put in my car." He said, "What about it, Gran?" I said, "It just told the truth for me when no one would have believed me. You were right, I was wrong. Write that down because you will not hear it often." He laughed. And then he got quiet and he said, "Gran, that was Grandpa's idea, really. I just held the tape." It is a month later now. My record is spotless again, the way it has been for 40 years. My rates did not change. Mason Reed is dealing with a denied fraud claim, a false report to police, and a fault determination that is entirely his own. He bet everything on one assumption, and the assumption broke under him. He assumed that an older woman would have nothing but her word, that gray hair meant confusion, that the easy story would simply be believed because it always had been. He was not entirely wrong about the world. The easy story almost did win. The officer wrote it. The adjuster believed it. For 2 weeks, I was the confused old woman who caused an accident. But the easy story is only powerful until it meets a record. And I was carrying one because a grandson who loved me stood in my driveway and insisted, and because a husband I lost taught a lesson that outlived him. So here is what I want you to take from an old woman who got blamed for being hit. Do not argue at the scene. Do not panic on the phone. Do not let a confident liar rattle you into looking unsteady. Stay calm, say little, and let the record speak. And if you drive, especially if you have gray hair like mine, get the little camera. Not because you cannot be trusted, because the world is far too quick to decide that you cannot, and the truth deserves a witness that does not blink. They will count on you having nothing but your word. Make sure you have more. Leave me a comment and tell me where you are watching from, and tell me, do you have a dash camera, or did this story just change your mind? Has anyone ever blamed you for something they did? I read every single one. And if this story reached something in you today, subscribe, because tomorrow's story will stay with you too.